Welcome to Performance Car Lounge, where each week we speak with enthusiasts selling their beloved performance cars. This week, we speak with the seller of an R-Spec Ford Mustang. On today's podcast, we have arguably the fastest, most powerful Ford ever offered for sale in Australia. It's the love child that resulted from the collaboration between Ford and the current supplier of Ford V8 motors to the current supercar series. We're featuring the 2020 Ford Mustang R-Spec, and today we're joined by the owner, Stephen. Thanks for joining us, Stephen.
Yeah, thanks, Stuart.
I can see by your background there that you're a passionate Ford fan and a definite petrol head. How did your passion start?
I started at a very early age, Stuart, because my father had one of the largest dealerships in Sydney, and from that grew a passion of cars. I'd done my apprenticeship with him there, and actually one of my first cars was a Ford Mustang, a 66 coupe. And with that, my love of cars and also Mustangs started. And whilst I haven't been able to have a Mustang my whole life, I had to sell it to buy a house to live in. So the girlfriend, the wife, didn't want to live in the back of a Mustang, so I had to sell that. And so eventually when they brought out a new right-hand drive one in Australia, I jumped on it, got on board and thoroughly enjoying it.
Well, that's pretty unreasonable of your girlfriend at the time. I mean, you can live in a car, but you can't race a house.
It was very disappointing for me, I might say. And I did sell it for, that would have been probably 1984. I sold it for $16,000. Oh, and if I find that car, I know it's in Sydney on the northern beaches somewhere. If I find it again, I think I gave you a photo of it. If I find it again, I'll buy it back because there's a lot of memories going into that car and had a lot of good times and a lot of bad times and rebuilding engines after going to the drag strip down at Big Chiefs on Parramatta Road. So, a lot of fun.
For people who don't know, Big Chiefs was a restaurant on Parramatta Road that sort of sold burgers and fries and that sort of thing. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was like an American style Burger King, and with the bench seats and all that type of thing. And it was on one of the main streets, the Western Distributor from Sydney, and we used to just drag along there and until the police caught up with us, and then we ended up moving out to the meatworks. But that Mustang I had a little 289 Windsor in it, and put stage 3 nitrous oxide on it. It used to go pretty fast. So on Saturday night, I used to race it, and then later that night, I used to pull the engine apart and rebuild it again because I blew it up. Yeah. So my girlfriend was that interested in cars, she'd come along to help.
Oh, wow. That's a keeper. So you had a supercharged Mustang when you must have been just a young bloke and you're illegally drag racing it through the streets of Sydney. I'd say that you're lucky to be here today.
Oh, yeah, 100% right, 100% right. But it was in a straight line, so that made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
It made it a lot easier. So it was a lot of fun and learned a lot and met some good people who I'm still friends with today. And I wish I had the car. I don't know if it's got nitrous oxide on it still, but I had to move on and to do other things and finally come back to what I enjoy.
So what did you move on to from your 66 Mustang?
HG Holden panel van.
Oh, that's controversial given your garage there.
Yeah, so I've had a few Holdens, had a few Fords, but my real passion's with the Fords, and I've had a few Fords now.
What led you to purchase the R-Spec Mustang? I always have to be careful when I say, as an Australian, I think we all have to be careful saying R-Spec because it's too easy to make it sound like R-Spec, and it's certainly not that. No. What led you to be interested in acquiring one of those?
Well, you said before my wife's a keeper. This will just give you an example that she was a keeper. But I think when they first come out, the first S550 with the 5-litre Coyote engine, when it first came out, the Mustang in right-hand drive, that was about 2015 or 16. And so I bought a silver one, an iconic silver one, which you got a photo there. And then that was a lot of fun. Took that to the track. That was automatic. It was good. Then I ended up selling that and getting a 2018 model, which was a Velocity Blue one. And that was a lot of fun. And when I picked that Mustang up from Power Ford at Castle Hill, I said to, it was a Danny, I said, mate, can you fit a supercharger to this car for me? And he said, oh, we don't do that at Ford. And I said, oh, okay, well, if you ever change your mind, if you're ever able to, let me know. So with that, I sort of went away with my 2018 Mustang. And then I think it was the Bathurst October weekend in 2019, Danny rang me. He says, Steve, we've got one. there's a company called Herrod Performance and Ford Australia that are putting together this R-Spec that has a supercharger. Are you interested? And at that time, I was sitting at an airport on the Sunshine Coast, coming back from the Sunshine Coast back to Sydney. And Danny said, do you want one? And I said, you got me. I asked for it. You got it. I'll take it. And so with that, I pulled my credit card out and gave him a $2,000 deposit and gave him a deposit for this 2020 R-Spec, which at that time, they were over $100,000. And my wife said, what did you just do? And I said, oh, geez. Needless to say, that trip from the Sunshine Coast on that Virgin Airlines was a very, very quiet trip. However, we're still married and she is a keeper.
Yeah, and I'm sure she enjoys the car almost as much as you do. Yes. So you touched on a really interesting point there where the salesman said to you, we don't do that. And then something changed where basically Rob Herrod entered the picture. Yeah. And that's where you've been fortunate enough to get a Ford Mustang with basically factory back warranty upgrades, including a supercharger. Rob Herrod's no stranger to the, tuning scene and aftermarket scene. He's been around a long time building very fast Fords. And he actually, as I understand it, works very closely with Ford Motor Company itself. They provide him with a lot of support, a lot of the technical drawings, so that he can basically put together the good stuff that we don't get offered in Australia. It seems to me like I feel like we're very fortunate that we are offered the Mustang for sale in this day and age in Australia with all the emissions things going on and all of that. And who knows how long we'll get it, but we never got offered the Performance Pack 2. We were never offered the GT500. There's so many things that we don't, the handling pack, we are never offered on the Mach 1 and the current Dark Horse. Yeah. So real shout out to Rob Herrod for stepping in and filling that gap for Australians, I guess.
It must have been a lot of planning for him. Now, I know he's very well known, just not here in Australia, but at the moment, today, he's in SEMA, one of the biggest aftermarket shows in the world. And so he has a lot of contacts. And I don't think it was an easy task for him to convince Ford North America to be able to do this in Ford Australia. So there was a lot of hoops he had to jump through, a lot of hurdles. And to pull it off, he's done a remarkable job. And the car is a remarkable car. And to be able to get it tuned, get it for sale through the dealers must have been a huge task. And I take my hat off to him.
Absolutely. And all backed with a factory warranty, which gives you that peace of mind when you're spending that much on a car and then that much again on his upgrades. It's great to have that peace of mind. So it's also worth noting that the R-Spec Mustangs were built at Broadmeadows, where Ford used to build their cars. The last car that rolled off the assembly line in Broadmeadows was an FG Falcon, a blue XR6. Okay. And then Rob Herrod did all of these R-Spec conversions, for want of a better term, on that old assembly line.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, I think that was 2013, I think the last FPV came out of there.
Yeah, maybe 2016. I'm not. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. October 2016. That's right. That the Campbellfield. I think he's built these ones in Campbellfield, and had a team of 20 or 30 people who are all trained by Ford. And they're all Herrod staff, all trained by Ford. So they had the processes, they had the proper way of doing it, and instruction sheets, and followed the Ford training, and so developed a great car.
So can you run us through what sets an R-Spec Mustang apart from your regular FN Mustang?
So I guess two key components is one is it's supercharged, right, which is a huge plus. But for me, the other one was the fully backed by Ford Australia warranty. So you got a 5-year unlimited warranty. And so those two key components obviously create the value in the car, as well as it only being one of 500. So there's a whole host of other upgrades. So a right-hand drive GT came into Australia with Ford Australia, went straight to Herrod into the Campbellfield facility. And then he started pulling it apart, cleaning it, upgrading, putting the supercharger on it, the Ford Performance supercharger. Then there was the tune that went on it. Then there was Ford Performance suspension on it. then that Magna Ride suspension is tuned by them as well. Different wheels, different stripes. Some of them have Recaros, some of them have heat cool. Mine has heat cooled, and they're all a 6-speed manual. So there's a huge upgrade to the vehicle, but all components are Ford Performance. All components are backed by the factory. So if you have a problem with it, you take it back to Ford. And my car has been back for every service, every logbook service back to Ford. It's been no problems with it. So it's been really good.
And it's a Whipple supercharger that goes on there, isn't it?
No, I think it's a Roush, a 2.65 litre Roush. Okay. So Ford Performance, it's made by Roush for Ford Performance.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah. And from my research, the power output figures are a bit fuzzy. They didn't seem to state an exact number, but it's a lot. Yeah. It was over 500 kilowatts and over 800 Newton meters of torque. So that's a lot of car. What's it like to drive?
It's actually quite smooth. Like, I've driven other fast cars, including cars that have got nitrous oxide. They rated at 522 kilowatts and 830 Newton meters, but the car is quite smooth. It doesn't throw you back, and you're out of control. You've got no traction. It's the delivery of the. Now you can tune it after that if you wanted to. I know I've got a friend that's got a white one, and he's tuned his, and his is just a wild beast. But this is great to drive on the road. It's great to drive on the track, and I've had a lot of fun driving around. But there is plenty of power, no doubt about that. But it's a very smooth delivery, and I think that goes to the tune that Ford Performance and Herrod Performance have put in on it.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I guess that's the nature of a supercharger as well, where you don't really have that lag that, say, a turbo engine would have. And you get to surf that big wave of torque, I guess.
Yeah. You still lose traction, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
If I drove it out of my shed here now, my workshop now, and went up the road and hit it with cold tyres, it's going to lose traction. So you've got to be very, very careful. There's plenty of videos online about Mustangs getting out of control and crashing, and haven't done that. So, you just got to be cautious. You've got to be aware of what you're doing.
And you touched on before that it's all Ford Performance parts. And from looking at the car, it looks like the wheels that are on it are wider than the standard Mustang wheels. Looks like they're similar to the PP2 Performance Pack 2 wheels that the Mustangs in the States get as part of their sort of track option. And it looks like it's got the GT500 spoiler on the back. With yours, looks like it's got a gurney flap on there as well.
I've fitted that. They're all extras that I've added a lot of extras to my R-Spec from the standard. It did come with a spoiler, but only a small one. But I've added the GT500 spoiler and also the gurney flap as well.
Yes.
The front's the same. The front's original. I haven't touched the front of it. So that's all standard. But there's certainly the back. It just makes it look more aggressive and works as well.
You've also put a massive brake kit on it.
Yeah, I own a workshop in Sydney, in Castle Hill, and we fitted the components came from Herrod Performance, Ford Performance parts. And so I fitted a GT350R brake kit with all the axles, front rotors, front calipers, rear ones as well. There's a couple of knuckles we had to change. But that makes a huge difference. The Ford GT Mustang brakes are really good to start with, but I've just upgraded them for a better feel and a better brake, and they're fantastic. I had them on my track car. I had a track car that I just recently sold that I was doing super sprints and regularities and rally sprints. And so this brake kit, you hit that pedal and she stops. And I think with all that horsepower, all those kilowatts, you need something to stop well, and it does.
I agree completely. I've seen a few Mustangs out at track days, and they stop well. This just the normal run-of-the-mill Mustangs. They stop well for a few laps, but I think after a few laps, the brake pedal starts to go a bit soft.
I've been with guys who have got the standard brake pads doing track days with them, and none of them have run out of brakes apart from one guy that puts some soft pads in. But as for overheating them, I've never seen it happen. And I've done a few laps with other guys with standard brakes, and they've never complained of that.
That's good to hear and interesting. So your track car that you were running, we're not speaking about the R-Spec.
No.
That was is that an FM Mustang that you had?
A 2018 Gen 3.
Gen 3, yeah.
Yeah, so 2018 model. It was a lot of fun. I've done Bathurst, challenged Bathurst a few times in it, City Motorsport Park, and it was good fun. A great car to drive.
Yeah, tell us about Bathurst, Challenge Bathurst. That looks like a really good event. Like Bathurst is such a hard track to get access to, obviously, because it's essentially a street circuit that's only opened up, limited times during the year.
Yeah.
I read on the Challenge Bathurst website, one of the first lines on the website is to competitors. It says, if you don't trust your car or yourself, drive somewhere else. And
I tell you, it is a scary experience when you haven't been doing it for many years, right? You've been doing a track day here and there. For John Bower or Dick Johnson, they're comfortable doing that. So, some of the younger guys are comfortable doing it. The first day I went, I was scared to hell. One of the things I get over my butterflies with is having the radio on. So I'll have my music on and I'll sing along with the music. And you're doing 260 kilometres an hour down that Conrod Straight. And you've got a couple of turns after that. And so going across the mountain, it's scary stuff, but it's the most fun I can have sitting down.
It's absolutely on the bucket list of things to do. I want to drive the Bathurst track. I've got around to a few race tracks in Australia, and my most recent bucket list track I made was the Bend in South Australia. That is well worth driving if you get the chance. But Bathurst and that Challenge Bathurst event is one I'd really like to do. Did you compete in the sprints or did you do the regularity?
The Challenge Bathurst, I think my first one was 2019. And so it's invitation only, right? So you have to be invited to go to this event. That was just before COVID. And so it was an invitation only. So I got an invitation. I went. And because I was so scared, I thought I'm only going to do the easy one first, which is the regularity. So if you want to go and race Bathurst, go the regularity first. Then the next year I thought, all right, let's up this. So I was competing on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I was doing the regularities and the super sprint, and I had a blast. It's so much fun, and the track is so much. Just to throw a little bit more interest into it, it starts to rain, doesn't it?
Yes.
And so I'm driving down that Conrod Straight across the mountain. I'm chasing this MX-5, this supercharged MX-5. And it starts to rain. So do you back off? No, you just keep going. And thankfully, the only thing I had was a tail shaft go on my red track car. But apart from that, nothing. I haven't even come off the track. So that's just telling you that I haven't been pushing it enough. Yeah. So I'll go back.
Yeah, definitely. And what tyres were you running?
Michelin Cup 2Rs I run. Cup 2Rs on the back and Cup 2s, they don't come in the size that I need on the front. But Cup 2Rs, which take a few laps to warm up. I've liked those. They're very expensive, but I've always liked those. Good grip. And I've learned things on the way as well of how to, set temperatures. And, I was no expert. I'm, not a career racer. But, I'm just a weekend guy that's had a go and enjoyed a track and a lot of fun. And you learn things from your friends and your mates and other people on YouTube or whatever. And you just get better and better. And I think my first lap time was around about 2:55. And slowly over the years, not over the weekend, over the years, I've got it down to 2:36 or 2:37, I think it was, which is good for a road car. Like these cars are road registered.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the V8s are doing it in what, 2:06?
Yeah, 2:06. Yeah,
and
so
I'm doing it. Yeah, I'm doing it 2:36. And meanwhile, there's a lot of other cars that go past me too. But mine's only a $60,000 car, so it's anybody can do it. Just get yourself set up and get the gear and get your protection. You certainly need protection, and they run Challenge Bathurst run a fantastic event. The guys up there, the officials, we wouldn't be able to do it with the officials, so we're very grateful of them. Yeah. But the event itself it's expensive, but to run that event is expensive, so you have to pay.
I forget who it was. It was one racing car driver that described Bathurst as like a mix between the Nürburgring, which is self-explanatory, and Macau, which is sort of like a concrete canyon racetrack.
Yeah.
Which part of Bathurst was the scariest part of the track for you?
Probably coming over Skyline down into the cutting onto Conrod Straight. That's your tyres get off the ground. It feels like my near side front tyres off the ground going down there. You're changing gears, trying to work out what gear it is, and you don't want to lock it up. And coming down there and do Forest Elbow and down the Conrod is It's pretty scary, but you concentrate and you find your best song, and mine's Queen, Don't Stop Me Now.
Yeah.
And you gas it, and you've got other guys racing around you who are all respectful. I've never touched another car, and nobody's come close to me. Yeah. And so it is scary going down through there, and I don't know what speed I'm doing, but it feels fast.
I'm sure, and I'm sure it adds a whole new dimension to every October to watching Bathurst on TV.
Yeah, it does.
Those guys go around when you'd be able to relate.
Yeah, you appreciate their skill for them to do it in that time. Clearly, they've got a better car that's all prepared only for that event. But just the skill. I take my hat off to them as well, because they're very, very clever.
And I understand you mentioned you've driven a few other tracks, but you've also driven at Targa Tasmania as well. Tell us about that.
High country, Targa High Country up to Mount Hotham.
Yep.
So that was done with Hamo, Ultimate Driving Tours. He does that, organised that event, and that was fantastic. Chris Reeve was one of the instructor. So that was down through the high country in Victoria. That was a great event. The driving was good, but it wasn't just the driving. It was the people you were with who all have a like mind, the events that they put on, the dinners that they put on, and it wasn't just our little group. I think we're a group of like 8 or 9 or 10 or something like that. But there might have been 150, 200 cars in it. It was a great event. It was great. It was all, a lot of safety, where you have to make sure you're doing the right thing and in a controlled environment. But the roads were open and the scenery was fantastic. That's the only one I've done.
Is that an open speed limit, or do they set a limit to how quick you can drive on Targa High Country?
There's a limit. Yeah, you can't just go crazy. You can't be doing 200 kilometres an hour in a 60k zone. Yeah. There is a limit, and it's got, with some incidents that have happened over the years, the limits have got less and less and less, and more restrictions, more safety to make sure it's safe for everybody. So, but still, even without those limitations, you're going to have a good time.
And did you have your wife in the car with you while you did it, or were you in the car on your own?
Yeah, see, that was she's not real good at navigating. Well, put it this way, we my friend and I, Craig, were heading up to Mount Hotham on one of the events, and it was the last run of the weekend, and so I'd been sort of somewhat restrained in the driving and mucking around with the other guys in our group, and then I've come up, on this side, on the left-hand side, you've got a 300-metre drop, and on the other side, you've got a 100-metre rock wall going up into Mount Hotham. And so I started to give it a little bit more. And so my wife's in the passenger seat with the navigational notes. And we got to the top after I give it plenty, inside of Craig, outside of Craig, sort of up and in. And all I could hear was she was bawling her eyes out with the book up against her face. She was not happy. Yeah. So she got out and she had a glass of wine. And so after that, she was all right. But she's still a keeper.
Yeah. I imagine you mentioned some really good dinners during Targa High Country. I imagine the next day starts with a breathalyzer test.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everyone's breathalyzed. Everyone, so you just got to manage that. And, I like a good schooner of VB, but, knowing I've got to drive in the morning, and everybody's breath test. So it's all done the proper way. Yeah,
me too. I don't mind the odd beer, but the prospect of a great drive the next day is enough for me to think, no, I'll skip the beers and enjoy the drive. So did you take the R-Spec to Targa High Country, or was that your...
That was the 2018 model.
Yes.
I haven't taken the R-Spec on the Targa.
So how have you been using your R-Spec? Is it a Sunday cruiser?
Mostly a Sunday cruiser. I have taken it to Challenge Bathurst. I bought it in July 2020, and then November 2020, I took it to Challenge Bathurst. And it performed extremely well. Very happy with it. I put the brake kit on it first up in my workshop, and then took it to Challenge Bathurst, and a lot of fun. And like with the power, I'm actually going faster with my normally aspirated car, only because I've got better at driving, slightly better. So I think I had a 242 in my R-Spec and a 236 in my NA. So a lot of fun. You gain more confidence, and you get the gears right, and you know what's expected to do a good time.
I also think there's an element of the more expensive car you're driving, the more conservative you start to drive as well.
I'm not sure about that.
You're braver than me.
I'm not sure about that. I just, I enjoy driving.
And with the R-Spec, it's obviously a limited edition car. Yours is number 399 of 500 built. They were all sold out before they were released.
Yeah.
Who do you insure your car through, given that you've got some modifications on it as well?
I've got it under a fleet program. I've got multiple vehicles. I run a bus company and I've got a workshop. So I've got a bunch of cars and I just have it under a corporate fleet. So I don't go with Shannon's or anybody like that. It's I can't even remember who it's with. So
yeah, okay. So I guess why are you selling such a phenomenal and rare car?
Well, look, I started to accumulate a few too many. And so I had the silver one, the blue one, the R-Spec, then the red one. And so at one point there, I had the three. And now I've got I've imported with Mustang Motorsport. They helped me import, well, they imported it, converted it, complied to GT500 Signature Edition. So I bought it online out of Texas. And so that's my go-to car now. I love driving it. It's a 7-speed dual DCT.
Yeah.
So something's got to go. And the red one, I sold that. The R-Spec, not that I want to, but it needs to go. And I'll just have the one. So some lucky person's going to buy it and enjoy it. And you can use it as a daily. You can use it as a weekend. You can use it at a track. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun car to drive.
I'm sure it is. We'll get back to the R-Spec, but you've just mentioned the GT500, and I've got to ask you about that. Yep. So you said you bought that out of Texas.
Yep.
Did you buy that new from a dealership, or did you buy it secondhand?
When I wanted to buy it, I went to Craig Dean at Mustang Motorsport. I said, Craig, I want one. I went to his workshop down in Melbourne and at Ferntree Gully. And I said, Craig, I want one of those. I've seen he had one in his workshop. I says, Craig, I want one of those. And he says, all right, we'll get one. And so he had contacts in America to order it brand new. And then he come back to us and said, Steve, they're not making them anymore. I can't order a brand new one. I said, oh, okay, what do we do now? And he said, let's see if we can find the used one. And so he was looking, I was looking online. I found this one online with Car Gurus. And I said, Craig, here's one. And he said, oh, okay, I'll get my contact, and bought it on that website. And then he actually bought one as well, because the dealer in Texas had two of them there. And so we brought two of them in. I think they arrived in October 2021. So they arrived, he picked them up, took it back to his factory in Melbourne, converted his first, and then converted mine second. And then, I've had it for over 12 months now. And I picked it up from him at Mustang Motorsport. And you mentioned before about being very careful the more expensive they are.
Yes.
Well, I picked it up from Mustang Motorsport in Ferntree Gully and went straight to Sandown and tracked it at Sandown. So they had a track day there. As I took it out there and I gave it all the herbs, and it was good fun.
Good on you, Stephen. I love it. Nothing warms my heart more than when people have these great cars like you've got, actually use them how they're designed. It would be very easy for someone like you to have these limited edition cars and to tuck them up in a shed and only pull them out on a sunny day, and to see you hurling them around racetracks and taking them for spirited drives, I think that's wonderful to see.
Yeah, so I'll be taking it to Sydney Motorsport Park when it gets a bit cooler, because it's pretty hot in Sydney at the moment. So I'll be taking it to Sydney Motorsport Park to see what it can do. That's what I'm curious. I've got a good lap time in my red one, and I want to see if that can be improved with this particular GT500 SE, to see how that goes. So I'm curious to know. Yeah, look, I like looking at them. You walk out of your shed, you turn around, you say, geez, that's a great looking car.
Yeah.
And not only that, I love driving them as well. And so I can't drive them all. And so I've got to let some of them go.
Well, yeah, I can understand that. Given that you've got a GT500, I guess R-Spec number 399 does probably have to go.
True.
It's Velocity Blue, it's manual, it's got the GT500 big brake kit on it. You're also selling it with a lot of the supporting materials that came with the car as well. So I believe there's a 1:18 replica of the model car as well.
You should be able to see it on the car over there.
Oh, yeah.
Sitting on the car along with the Donald Trump wobbly head.
Yes.
But so, it comes with that. every possible accessory that Herrod Motorsport was selling, I bought, including the floor mats, the car cover, the signage. I think you can see just behind my ear there, you can see a poster of one there.
Yes.
I've got another one with the original certificate. I've listed them all there. But yeah, the biggest extra that I've put on top of the R-Spec manufacture was the GT350R brake kit. Suspension's been done. Herrod done the exhaust, so that's all standard. But I went with the heat cool seats rather than the Vacaros, only because I wanted to use it not so much for the track, but more for cruising around. And so, that was one of the conditions that I had to comply with to own it and keep her happy. But she loves going out in it. We have a good time. And having said that, my GT500 came with Vacaros from Texas, and Mustangs Motorsport changed them to the heat cool seats.
Right.
It was a big hassle, but they changed them to the heat cool seat because the Vacaros are good, but if you're going to track a car, then you really need to put a proper race seat in it. The Vacaros, I still slide down with the brakes. I still slide down underneath. I've got a harness. I had a harness on my red one. Yeah, you still need a proper race seat if you're going to track them.
For anybody who is listening to the podcast and not watching the YouTube version, I'll have on the website www.performancecarlounge.com.au a full breakdown of what Stephen's car has got and all the photos of the car. So if you are interested in the car, head over to performancecarlounge.com.au. There'll also be a link through to the advert for the car for sale. So if you do want to get in contact with Stephen and find out more about the car, just head to the website. So I guess, Stephen, that leads me to the $1 million question. We know why you're selling it. We know what you're selling. How much are you asking?
I'm asking 140 for it, which is the highest one on car sales. So I think it's certainly up there. I probably won't get 140. If somebody came in with an offer of 120, they could have it. And I get it that, the $10,000 brake kit, I'll never get that money back, but hopefully trying to get some of it back. So I think at 120 is a reasonable price. Someone can drive away and enjoy it like I did.
Yeah, I think at 120, given the limited build numbers for that car and that brake kit, which is actually improved the car out of sight, I imagine.
Yeah.
That's a tangible upgrade and good buying for anybody who's in the market for a 2020 R-Spec Mustang.
Yeah.
Well, Stephen, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the podcast.
You're welcome, Stuart.
And I wish you all the best of luck with the sale, and I'm envious of whoever's going to own that car next.
Very good. I need to just put my hat on and congratulate Trump.
Yeah, you must be very happy with the result of a very recent election.
He's crazy, but I think hopefully it's the best choice. Bit of fun.
I think it will be a good thing for car enthusiasts. He's not a huge EV fan, so
no, true that.
Some more interesting stuff coming out of Detroit, hopefully.
Yeah. Thanks, Stuart, and thanks for your interest in my R-Spec.
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks for joining us at Performance Car Lounge. If you have a performance car with an interesting story that you are selling, contact us at performancecarlounge.com.au.